Peace and grace to you, beloved child of God. You didn't come here by accident. Something in your spirit led you to click this video, because deep down, you know there's more to love than confusion and mixed signals. You've loved, you've lost, you've waited, and maybe, just maybe, there's someone who never planned to fall for you. But love isn't an accident, it's alignment. When hearts collide under divine timing, what seems like coincidence is often the hand of God revealing purpose through emotion. Today, we're going to talk about that moment, the moment that changed everything, and what it means for you, your healing, and your growth. I'm not here to sugarcoat feelings or give you empty motivation. I'm here to help you see love through clarity, not confusion, through wisdom, not wishful thinking. Scripture tells us in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That means your emotions are powerful rivers. They carry life, direction, and identity, but when those rivers are guided by truth, they don't drown you, they refresh you. Maybe someone saw strength in you that they didn't expect. Maybe you did something so simple, a kind word, a patient silence, a forgiving spirit, and it awakened something in them that logic couldn't explain. They didn't plan to fall, but the authenticity in you made them see what real love looks like. By the end of this teaching, you'll understand why. That moment mattered, what it revealed about their heart, and how God uses such moments to grow both you and them. You'll see how to love wisely, heal completely, and walk forward without fear. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. If you're serious about healing, clarity, and attracting the kind of love that aligns with your purpose, subscribe right now to Daily Motivation Prayers. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs real relationship truth. And if this content blesses you, consider tapping the super thanks below. Every gift helps us keep spreading the word and creating teachings that bring light into people's hearts. Stay until the end. I promise you'll leave with revelation, not confusion, peace, not pain. Now let's begin. Number 1, the moment that revealed authentic connection. Every love story that transforms a heart begins with a moment of authenticity. It's rarely the grand gestures that ignite genuine connection. It's the honest, unguarded second when someone's soul becomes visible. They never planned to fall for you because in their world, love was performance, control, pursuit, image. Then you did something different. You were real. You didn't chase. You didn't manipulate. You didn't hide. You simply showed up as yourself, grounded, kind, imperfect yet present. Authenticity is magnetic because it mirrors God's nature. Genesis 1 tells us we were made in His image. That means the truest version of you carries divine reflection. When someone sees that reflection in another human being, something eternal wakes up inside them. That's what happened. They saw peace when they expected pressure. They saw grace where they anticipated games, and suddenly the walls they built to stay safe began to tremble. Authenticity exposes fear, not through confrontation, but through contrast. When someone used to guardedness meets someone who lives in emotional honesty, they must choose. Keep pretending or step into truth. You didn't seduce them, you invited them into clarity. Real connection always demands courage. It asks both people to risk being known, not just being admired. When you acted from honesty, when you spoke truth with gentleness, or forgave instead of fighting, you revealed a strength they weren't prepared for. That's why they fell. Scripture says in John 4:18, perfect love casts out fear. The moment they felt something, pure fear started to lose its grip. Not because you were flawless, but because you were free. Freedom is contagious. When you walk in self-respect and peace, those living in confusion can feel the difference. This is why the right people are drawn to you, not because of external charm, but because of spiritual authenticity. It's why imitations fade while truth endures. If this resonates with you, take a breath right now and thank God for keeping you real in a world that rewards pretending. Comment below, I choose authenticity, if you're ready to let honesty guide your relationships from this day forward. Then like this video and share it. Someone out there needs this reminder. And remember, you don't have to chase love that recognizes your worth. The same God who made your heart will align it with someone who values its honesty. Stay grounded, stay real, and let truth do the attracting. Number 2. When consistency spoke louder than words. At first, they didn't believe what they saw in you. They thought it was a phase, a spark that would fade once comfort settled in. Most people speak love with intensity and then vanish when the energy shifts. But you kept showing up. You were the same on the ordinary days as you were in the exciting ones. That is where real attraction begins. Consistency is the quiet language of sincerity. It's what tells the heart, this is safe, this is real, this is steady. Anyone can impress for a moment, but only truth can endure time. When you kept your tone gentle, when you remembered the small details, when you stayed present even in silence, you spoke volumes without speaking at all. Your actions whispered, I'm not here to perform, I'm here to build. Consistency dismantles fear. It tells another soul that love doesn't have to hurt to be felt. It shows that peace can be passionate, that calm can be magnetic. That was the moment. Their defenses began to lower because they realized you weren't a storm. You were shelter. Consistency isn't perfection. It's direction. It's a daily choice to remain honest, patient, and kind even when emotions fluctuate. It's how trust takes root and how affection matures into commitment. They fell because you didn't rush them. You let space breathe. You respected timing, and that taught them what respect really looks like. When someone meets consistency after living in chaos, it feels like healing. It feels like something worth protecting, and in that safety, feelings deepen quietly but permanently. So stay consistent, not for validation, but for alignment with who you truly are. Let your steadiness reveal your strength. Let your boundaries reflect your value, because those who are ready for real connection will always be drawn to stability wrapped in kindness. Take a moment and reflect on how you show up in love. Are you steady when emotions rise? Are you patient when silence visits? Are you intentional in your presence? If this truth speaks to you, type, I choose consistency in the comments right now. Let it be a declaration that your love will no longer depend on moods or manipulation, but on maturity and peace. Then tap. Like if this message reminds you of the kind of person you're becoming, share it with someone who's tired of one-sided energy. And if these words bring value to your life, remember you can show love back by hitting super thanks. Every gesture helps this community grow and reach more hearts. Consistency may not feel dramatic, but it's the force that holds real love together. Stay patient, stay faithful, and let your actions keep speaking long after words fade. Number 3. When vulnerability became the turning point, they had seen confidence before. They had seen beauty and charm and energy, but they had rarely seen vulnerability. Because vulnerability feels risky. It says, I trust you enough to show you what is not polished. That one moment you allowed your guard to drop changed everything. You spoke honestly about fear, about disappointment, about the lessons that shaped you. You didn't use your past as a performance piece. You shared it as truth. And that truth created connection. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is courage, choosing exposure over control. It is the voice that whispers, I will not hide to be accepted. And when you lived that way, they felt something familiar, yet foreign. A depth they had been missing. Most people wear layers of performance. They smile when they want to scream. They agree when their heart aches for honesty. So when you chose to be open instead of perfect, they saw hope. That is why they began to fall. Because Vulnerability calls to the human spirit. It says we can breathe here, we can rest here. We don't have to pretend. You became the space where they could exhale, where silence wasn't punishment, but peace, where imperfection wasn't failure, but evidence. Of being real, to love deeply, you must risk being misunderstood. To be known, you must allow the raw and the unfinished to be visible. That is what you did. You let light touch the corners of your story that were once hidden, and in that moment, connection replaced curiosity. Vulnerability builds intimacy faster than charm ever could. Charm may attract attention, but vulnerability earns trust. Trust is what makes someone stay. Think of how gentle yet powerful that is. When you spoke your truth with softness, not defense. When you admitted you didn't have all the answers, but you were willing to learn. You modeled what healthy love looks like. That's the shift they felt inside. They realized love wasn't about constant strength. It was about shared honesty. It was about two souls meeting without armor. So keep choosing openness, not with everyone, but with those who have earned your honesty. Let your truth be a bridge, not a wall. If this resonates, type, "I choose to be real" in the comments. Let that be your declaration of freedom from pretending. Hit like if you feel the peace that comes from authenticity. Share this video with someone who hides their light out of fear of judgment. And if this message adds value to your journey, consider pressing super thanks. It helps us continue creating words that heal. Remember, vulnerability doesn't make you weaker. It makes your love unforgettable. It turns moments into meaning and connection into covenant. Stay brave, stay open, and let your truth invite the right hearts to rise to meet it. Number 4. When communication became the bridge, every connection reaches a point where words either build or break. Many relationships end not because love disappeared, but because communication collapsed. You changed that pattern. You decided to listen, not just to reply, but to understand. That simple choice shifted everything, because real communication is more than conversation. It is comprehension. It is empathy, meeting expression. They never planned to fall for you because they were used to chaos, used to raised voices and unspoken resentment. Then you brought calm. You spoke truth without cruelty. You asked questions instead of making assumptions. You created space instead of tension. That is when they felt the difference. They realized safety is not silence. Safety is being able to speak without fear. You gave them that healthy communication is a mirror. It reflects how much we value both ourselves and the other person. You didn't use words to control. You used them to connect. And connection became the language of trust. Every time you chose patience over panic, every time you breathed before reacting, you showed emotional maturity, you modeled peace, and that consistency built confidence. Soon, your conversations became healing. Grounds, not battlefields, moments where both of you could drop defenses and share thoughts honestly. That kind of openness changes people. It teaches that love is not about winning arguments, but about understanding hearts. They fell for you because they could finally rest in your voice, because your words matched your actions, because your tone carried respect, even when emotions ran high. Communication builds the bridge that passion alone cannot cross. Passion can start a fire, but understanding keeps it alive. Without communication, even chemistry loses direction. With it, trust keeps growing. So keep refining how you express love. Speak clearly, listen fully, and respond slowly. Let your words carry grace, but also truth. Let honesty be your habit, not your exception. Ask yourself right now, how do I speak to the people I care about? Do my words build or bruise? Do they invite openness or shut doors? Because love that lasts is built one conversation at a time. If this message reaches you, type I. Choose healthy communication in the comments. Let that be your personal commitment to peace and clarity. Tap like if this reminds you to breathe before reacting. Share this video with someone learning to speak love instead of pain. And if these teachings support your growth, remember you can leave a super thanks to show love to the channel and help more hearts heal. Keep using your voice wisely. Because when communication becomes the bridge, understanding becomes the journey, and love becomes the destination. Number 5. When self-worth became the standard, you used to think love was about proving yourself, about giving, until you were empty, hoping someone would finally stay. But heaven started whispering that real love doesn't demand your exhaustion to deserve affection. It began the moment you remembered who you are. Psalm 139:14 says, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made." That truth isn't a compliment, it's a foundation. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are a divine design. And once you understood that, everything changed. You stopped chasing people who only saw parts of you. You stopped lowering your value for temporary validation. You realized attention is not affection, and consistency is not control. You began to love from fullness, not from fear. When you set boundaries, it wasn't rejection, it was revelation. It showed who valued your presence and who only loved your access. You stopped apologizing for standards that protect your peace, because real love meets you at your worth, not beneath it. Proverbs 31:25 says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future." That is what self-worth sounds like. It is calm, it is quiet confidence, it is walking into a room without needing to compete because you know you already belong. You learned that love without respect is manipulation, that promises without actions are distractions, that silence is sometimes self-care, not surrender. You started looking at your reflection and seeing progress, not problems. You started speaking kindness to yourself, because the way you talk to yourself teaches others how to treat you. You stopped begging for love and started becoming it, and suddenly peace started following you. Doors opened differently. Conversations changed. You no longer needed people to complete you because you finally felt whole in your own skin. Ephesians 2:10 says, "You are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works." That means you were born on purpose, for purpose. So you stopped settling for situations that suffocate destiny. You realized that anyone who truly loves you will never ask you to shrink to fit their comfort. Now your energy has boundaries, your heart has wisdom, your time has value, and your love has direction. That's what happens when self-worth becomes your standard. So if this message finds you in a season of rediscovering your value, type "My worth is my standard" in the comments. Tap like if this reminds you to stop shrinking to be loved. Share this message with someone who's learning to love themselves again. And if these teachings continue to speak to you, consider pressing that super thanks button. It helps this channel keep reaching souls who forgot what they're worth. Keep walking in confidence, not comparison, because when self-worth becomes your standard, love can finally meet you at your level. Number 6. When trust became the foundation. Love without trust is like a house built on sand. It might look good for a season, but the first storm exposes the cracks. You learned that the hard way. You learned that trust isn't given by words. It's earned by consistency. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." That's where it started. When you learned to trust God first, every other trust found order, because you stopped expecting people to give what only faith can anchor. Trust became your quiet strength. You no longer chase clarity through control. You stopped replaying every moment looking for reassurance. You decided to believe what's proven, not what's promised. You started trusting actions more than apologies, patterns more than potential, and peace more than pressure. Because trust is not built in big gestures, it's built in daily honesty. They saw it too, how your calm carried conviction, how your words stayed the same. Even when emotions shifted, that's what made you different. You built steadiness in a world addicted to chaos. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act." That's the kind of trust that makes fear lose its grip. It's not passive, it's powerful. It says, "I will move" when God says move, and "I will wait" when He says wait. You stopped assuming the worst. You stopped reading silence as rejection. You started seeing it as space. You trusted that what's meant for you won't need chasing, that love anchored in truth doesn't need convincing, and in that stillness something beautiful happened. You became safe to love because your trust wasn't fragile anymore. It wasn't based on perfection. It was rooted in peace. You realize that trust doesn't mean ignoring your discernment. It means listening to it. It means letting God's wisdom lead even when your heart wants to rush. It means saying, "I'll trust again, but I'll also stay wise." That's why your love feels different now. It doesn't panic, it doesn't chase, it doesn't force, it flows. Trust became your foundation, and from that place, love could finally grow without fear. Now you can give without losing yourself. Now you can forgive without forgetting your worth. Now you can stay open without being naive. So if this message sits in your spirit, type, "Trust is my foundation" in the comments tab. Like if it reminded you that peace comes from trust, not control. Share it with someone learning to believe again. And if this teaching strengthens your walk with God, consider leaving a super thanks to help us keep bringing hope and healing to more people. Because when trust becomes the foundation, storms stop shaking what God has already secured. Number 7. When purpose became the promise, there comes a moment when everything you thought you lost starts to make sense. When every unanswered prayer begins to look like protection. When you finally see that the pain you survived was never punishment. It was positioning. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose." All things, the heartbreak, the delay, the disappointment, the detour. It was all working toward purpose. You spent years praying for the promise, and heaven was shaping the person you wanted arrival. But God wanted alignment. He wasn't just preparing the blessing. He was preparing you to handle it. Every loss was a classroom. Every silence was a syllabus. Every waiting season was a divine internship in faith. You were learning how to hold what you once would have dropped. When purpose becomes the promise, you stop chasing outcomes and start cultivating obedience. You stop asking why me and start saying, "Use me." You stop begging for doors to open and start thanking God that He closed the wrong ones. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That's not a verse about comfort. That's a declaration of calling. It means your steps were ordered even when your heart was breaking. The person you're becoming is the proof that the process was necessary. Every moment you thought was wasted is being redeemed. Every scar is turning into strategy because your story carries someone else's survival inside it. You're not just walking into a new season, you're walking into assignment. Your healing will heal others. Your peace will preach louder than pain ever did. Your consistency will be the message someone else needed to believe again. You used to pray for a platform. Now you realize your purpose is people. You used to want attention, now you want alignment. You used to look for love. Now you've become the evidence of it. When purpose becomes the promise, your validation shifts. You no longer need everyone to understand you. You just need to stay faithful to the one who called you. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." That means this isn't the end. This is the unfolding. Every chapter is leading somewhere sacred. So if this word reaches your spirit, type, "My purpose is my promise," in the comments. Tap like if it reminded you that nothing is wasted in God's timing. Share this with someone who needs to remember that pain births purpose. And if this teaching blessed you, consider leaving a super thanks to help this channel keep spreading messages that heal and restore. Hearts, you've come through too much to doubt why you're still here. Purpose kept you alive, promise is what's calling you forward. And heaven is smiling, because now you finally understand. It was never just about love. It was always about becoming. Now that you've walked through this message, you can feel it. Something has shifted inside you, because what you once called a delay, you now recognize as divine direction. What you thought was rejection was really redirection. What you saw as the end was actually the beginning of revelation. Everything heaven allowed was shaping you. Every tear watered the roots of wisdom growing in you. Every waiting season was birthing something sacred in silence. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You didn't just endure, you were equipped. Isaiah 61:3 says, "He gives beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, and a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness." That means nothing was wasted. Even the heartbreak became holy ground because it brought you back to purpose and taught you how to love differently. Now you understand. They weren't hiding this truth from you to punish you. Heaven was protecting it until you were ready to see it. The truth that you were never waiting on love. Love was waiting on you to heal, to believe, to stand again in faith, to remember that God's timing isn't denial, it's divine precision. This message wasn't an accident. It found you because you were ready to receive what your heart had been praying for. You are not behind, you are in process. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You are not overlooked. You are being refined for something sacred. So breathe, because peace is returning. Clarity is coming and strength is rising inside you again. Before we close, I want to ask something simple. If this teaching spoke to your spirit, if you felt seen or strengthened, take a moment to connect back. Hit that like button right now, because every like pushes this message to someone who needs it. Leave a comment below and tell me what part spoke to you most, or how God's been using your waiting season to teach you. Type, "I'm ready for heaven's timing," if you're ready to stop fighting delays and start flowing with divine order. And if this channel has blessed your life, if you've ever felt peace, clarity, or healing through one of these videos, consider hitting the subscribe button right now to Daily Motivation Prayers. Join this growing community of hearts that are healing together, learning together, and walking with faith through every season. Turn on your notifications so you never miss when a new word drops. And if the Spirit leads you, consider leaving a super thanks to support this ministry and help these teachings keep reaching souls across the world. Your engagement isn't about numbers, it's about impact. Every share becomes a seed. Every comment becomes community. Every super thanks becomes ministry. Together, we are building a movement of love, truth, and transformation. So walk into your next season with confidence, because what broke you yesterday built the foundation for who you are becoming. And heaven smiles when you finally understand they didn't hide it to hurt you. They hid it because you weren't ready to see how powerful you truly are. Keep healing. Keep growing, keep trusting His timing, because your story isn't over, it's just beginning. And I'll see you in the next message. Amen.